So like if you notice the two files I have, one's a AIFF, one's a M4A. You could have an MP3, you could have a WAV, but the absolute best ones are the WAV files because they're universal. They work on both the PC and the Mac. MP3s work pretty good too. So this is how you do a conversion. So if you launch iTunes, I mean, if you have it, I'm pretty sure you do. You can take the files that you want to convert and you drop them into iTunes. So I'm just going to grab it and drag it over and drop them in.
If you don't have iTunes,
you can still work with, from an MP3. It'll still import just fine.
Okay.
So I guess my second one didn't take.
If you need a conversion from YouTube to an MP3, let me know. I can post it in chat.
That would be
yeah.
fantastic.
If you want to do that, that would be cool. Yeah. So there's my songs. I just went to my songs list, and then I have to set up the conversion for the song. So up here in iTunes, it's a preference, and under preferences, it's under general. And under general, it's called import settings. And you'll notice that your default is probably an MP3 encoder. You can change it to a WAV encoder. Then once you do that, you just select the song. And once you select the song, it's under, gotta look, File, Convert, and it'll come up as create a WAV version. And then you can create it. So I created the WAV version, and now I can take the WAV version and I can just drag it over here to my audio folder and drop it. Must not have grabbed the right one since I dropped it in so many times. Let me try it again. There it is. And then I'm going to do the same thing with my second track. Select it, File, Convert, create a WAV. Grab the new one, drag it over, drop it. So now I have two WAV versions. And I'm done with iTunes. You guys good?
Yeah.
Yes,
Almost done.
Okay, let's go to the After Effects birds file that we've been working on. And let's launch it.
Professor,
Yes.
can you still use MP3? Because then that's what I
If you can't convert an MP3, it'll work fine.
Okay, cool.
So here's where we were last time. I think we finished with this composition. So look over here on the left and you'll see multiple comps. You'll see our Tearbird, you'll see our original composition called Birds. And if we double click on it, it becomes the active composition. And remember, this is what we had so far. So I'm going to fold up my layers so I can see what I'm doing. And then I'm going to import my sounds. So File, Import, File. I'm going to go to my audio AE folder or your audio folder, wherever you put them. And I'm going to select both the WAV files by holding down my command key. And I'm going to click open. And it'll bring them in. So I'm going to select my 01, my very first track. And I'm going to take it in here and I'm going to drag it down. And I like to put my sound at the bottom of my After Effects file. And I'm just going to drop it in. Now, when you drop it in, it's going to extend longer than, like, I'm going to zoom out so you can see this whole thing. This is the zoom bar, remember? So when I zoom out, it's way off the end. And it's pretty far off the end, you know, if I could see it, because it's a long song. So what I'm going to do is just clip it down to a chunk. And a way that I clip it down to a chunk is I just double click on the track and the whole song comes up here. And so what I can do now is find a spot that I want to clip it at. So I'm just going to move the playhead over and I'm going to set an in point. This is an in point right here. It's this little bracket. It's also an I on the keyboard, but I'm going to set the in point. And then I'm going to move the playhead over just a little ways, and I'm going to set the out point. And what it does is it clips my sound down to a short enough track that I can grab the end if I want to and move it around. So I'm going to make a track that's about 11 seconds long. So far, so good?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so second track, I'm going to take my second track, I'm going to bring it down here, I'm going to drop it in at the very bottom, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to double click it. I'm going to find an insertion point or a spot where I want it to start. Don't start it right at the beginning because I'm going to teach you how to crossfade. And then mark an in and pull the playhead just a little bit further and mark an out. And we're going to scoot that track down to the end like this. And we're going to create an overlap between the two.
So you put like you put the very first beginning of the
Middle, so I can show you how to fade in, fade out, and crossfade.
Okay.
Show again how you did the insertion point.
Yeah, for to mark it in and out, I just grabbed it. Once I double click a track, it becomes active up here in our comp window.
Mm-hmm.
And then you grab the playhead right here and you put it wherever you want. And then you mark a in, and it's this thing right here.
So the left curly bracket. Okay.
And then you move the playhead over and you mark the out. And then you should see it shorten on your screen. You got to make it short enough that, you know, we're only in 20 seconds on this project. So, and then create an overlap.
Okay.
Now you have to not navigate back to your composition window. So this can get confusing when you go between the layer window and the composition window. But if you look up here, you'll see your composition, or you can even do it from over on the left side and just double click it and it becomes active again. And right now, this is what I've got. It's pretty muddy where it overlaps too. Do you guys have something similar?
Nope.
No, I'm taking notes because I need to watch and learn first.
How about the rest of you guys? Are you being able to follow me?
Yeah.
Yeah, perfectly.
I'm taking notes.
Taking notes.
You want me to slow down so that you can take notes and do it at the same time?
Right now, I think what will work for me is take real good notes step by step. Then I can practice and practice as much as I want.
Okay. Like if we were doing this in the classroom, I'd have you doing the exercise, you know, and then I'd get up and walk around and make sure we were all at the same point. But it's kind of up to you the way you want to do it. So
I just don't remember if I have to do it again. You know, unless there's another video to reference, like I might not.
Tanaya, we can barely hear you.
First time.
Tanaya.
Okay, I'm sorry. Hang on.
We can barely hear you.
You're cutting out pretty hard. Professor?
Yeah.
So I looked everywhere for my project file, and for some reason I don't have it, and I only have the MP4.
Well, if you open your After Effects program, you should see it, you know, like as you open the After Effects program.
It's not in any of the files.
You know what? I had the same problem yesterday with Premiere and stumbled through it. And this is what I found. This is what I found when I looked after class. I have two versions. I have the 19 and I have the 20. And I'd worked in the 20 version and I was opening the 19 version. So maybe you're doing the same thing with After Effects. Like because when I did the update, you know, the download, I told it to keep the old program just in case. And so the 20 version doesn't see the 19. So if you built it in the, excuse me, I said it wrong. The 19 doesn't see the 20. And I tried it several times just to make sure that's what it was, because I didn't like floundering through that. And that's exactly what it was. So if I open the 19 version like in Premiere and I look for the 20 version of the file that I created, it won't even show up. It doesn't even exist. But if I open the 20 version, it goes right to it. So maybe you have two versions of the program on your computer. I'm just guessing because that's what happened to me.
I'll double check.
So anyways, from here, what we're going to do is we're going to do a fade in. So I pull my playhead over to 2 seconds. And on my first track right here, I'm going to flip down my first track. And then you'll see that it says audio underneath it. And I'm going to flip down audio also. And you'll see one that says waveform too. And you can flip it down and you can actually see the waveform for it, which is kind of cool because each one of those peaks in there is a hard beat. So it's a visual representation of it. So at 2 seconds, what I'm going to do is start my keyframing for my audio level. So there's a keyframe.
Okay.
All I did was click the stopwatch. And now I'm going to pull the playhead backwards and I'm going to dip the sound. So where it says 0 decibels, that's normal. And then I'm going to click and drag back to the left. And look what my waveform's doing. It's getting smaller.
Okay.
So you can actually see that it's ramping up into it. And then that sounds like this, you guys. That's a fade in.
How much of the dB did you do of audio levels?
I just did it visually. I just watched the waveform decrease. But anything after about a -35, you can't really hear. So I want to see both tracks like this. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pull the playhead down. And I'm going to put it right where the overlap starts between these two songs.
Mhm.
And what I'm going to do is that now I'm going to create a fade out on my top track. So I have to duplicate this keyframe right here. So one way to duplicate it is just come over and click this diamond that's on the far side. But the way that I taught you guys that pretty much everyone uses is you select it and then you do Command C and Command V and it pastes wherever you have your playhead. So I just copied and pasted whatever my last keyframe was. So you have to have those two keyframes like this. Otherwise, what you'll get is a fade in and then a super long fade out. But by duplicating the same keyframe right there, it tells it to stay consistent at a 0.00 decibel level, which is a normal level. And now I can pull the playhead down to the end of the overlap, and I can dip the sound, and I just pull the decibel level backwards, and you'll see it physically dip. Something like that. And now this track sounds like this. But what it's doing is this one's fading out and this one's, the lower one is just jumping in. And so what we want to do is make a crossfade between the two. So I'm going to fold up my top audio track and I'm going to go to my bottom audio track, so the one right below it, and I'm going to flip it down and I'm going to flip audio down and I'm going to flip waveform down. And I'm going to line myself up in the overlap at the end of it. And I'm going to start my keyframing at 0 decibels. And then I'm going to pull it backwards to the beginning. And I'm going to dip that sound so that it fades in. So I have one fading out and one fading in. And now,
So
go ahead.
did you do first? So did you add the wiggle
Do I add what?
spiral?
2 seconds.
I
Question.
didn't really catch that. Did you do the parent and link to the
I faded the sound out and I faded the sound in.
okay.
It's called a crossfade.
So your crossfade is about 2 seconds?
Yeah, so it doesn't have to be that long on yours. I'm just doing it long so that I can show you.
Okay.
So here's what it sounds like now. Together. Cool.
So the second track is gonna play through the duration of the movie?
No, there's an overlap right here.
Okay.
It's just in the second half.
Okay.
First half, second half.
Okay.
Now I'm going to go down to the end, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this same keyframe right here, and I'm going to copy it. So I'm doing Command C on my keyboard, and then Command V to paste it in. So I'm moving this same, I'm duplicating the same keyframe over here, and then I'm going to move to the very end, and at the very end, I'm going to dip my decibel level down so that I can't hear it, and you can see it in the waveform. And so now what I've created is multiple fade ins and fade outs, and by stacking two tracks in an overlap, I've created a crossfade.
Stack overlap. Okay. So we're gonna
Right here. So now when I play it back, mine sounds like this. Fade in. Crossfade. Fade out. Were you guys successful?
Yeah.
I got mine.
So I still cannot find that project file.
All
I
right,
still only
well,
have the MP4.
rebuild it. So
All right. Do you mind if I kind of just get a little easy with the new
yeah,
one? Okay.
I don't care.
All right.
Yeah, I'll get the idea because I'm looking for the audio, not for the visual.
Okay.
We are going to set text on it right now, so I'm going to show you the text features.
Okay.
So you'll want to add that too. Is that Justice that's talking to me?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, Justice, you can just drop steals in there across it if you want to rebuild it, and then do your audio and set your text.
Okay.
Any questions about the audio part?
Caroline's typing questions in chat.
You know what? I can't see it because I'm in share screen. Can you read it to me?
You said, can you show how to clip the audio clip again? I've got the two, but I can't figure out how to clip just one.
Sure. You just double click it, and then it's really long, and you just move the playhead wherever you want it to cut. So I just randomly chose a spot, and then you set an in point. That's this little bracket right here. An out point, and that's this little bracket. And then it'll shorten it up. Good?
Okay, got it.
So you guys, if you drop video clips in later on, you know, when we get further into the class, that's, you mark ins and outs to cut them up. And that's how you mark them, the same way that you mark sounds.
Okay.
Okay, so now I need to show you how to be able to mark it to pace. So what you can do is, if you look up under layer, you'll see this thing called markers, and it says add marker. And that's actually, that little symbol is control. So control 8. Or if you have an extended keyboard, it's the asterisk key on the numeric pad. So what you do, like here, let's just do one together. We'll just randomly put one in. You go control 8. And what it does is it puts a marker in. Now look, it put my marker down here on my soundtrack. And it's because I had that soundtrack selected. So I'm just going to go to undo, which is Command Z, and undo it. Now watch this. If I don't have anything selected, so I'm just going to click in the space down here at the bottom. So no tracks are selected. And I do Control 8. What it does is it puts a marker up in the header. So there's my marker. Did you guys successfully add a marker? You have to be able to do it with a key command, Control 8.
Control 8.
Yeah. And there's a reason. I'm going to undo it now. So here's the reason. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put the playhead all the way over, and then I'm going to play the soundtrack, and I'm going to hold the control, and I'm going to tap the 8 to the beat. And so let me just give you an example. So just bear with me for a minute. So you guys see what I got?
Yes.
Yeah. Markers across my header. So by having the markers across my header, what I can do now is I can pace. So what I mean is, like, might as well hit the beat here. So
Why
I
is
can.
your marker up top then mine is on the bottom?
You guys want to tell him? Guess that's a no. Because you have a soundtrack selected. If you just click in the gray space down below and have nothing selected, then when you add it, it goes up into the header.
Okay.
On top.
Yeah, so whatever clip you have selected and you try to place a marker, it's going to place it on that clip.
So it can be handy, you know, like when you start to work with video files, if you're working with video files that are, you know, already have the soundtrack embedded in them, then you might want to mark those out. Or you can even add markers, you know, like, hey, this is where I'm going to insert graphics, even though you haven't built it yet. So.
Yeah, I really can't put my marker on top.
Is it attaching to a track, Nico?
No.
You don't have any tracks selected, and you're
Nope.
hitting Control 8.
Yeah.
And it should just add a marker for you. If you can't do it that way, try it up here. Layer, markers, add marker. And see if it adds one in. Did it add one in when you did it? Layer, marker, add marker.
No, it's invisible.
You don't see a little mark like this.
No. Only if I select a on my on the bottom, I can put a marker on it.
On the soundtrack. Huh,
On the
that's
soundtrack or any of my layers, but I can't put a marker right now.
all right. Well, you can mark them on your soundtrack. So
Okay.
it's weird though, because that's been a feature since, you know, way, way, way back in After Effects. It's never changed. Maybe you have your header hidden or something.
It's Shift 8 on Windows.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm using a Mac.
Yeah. Thanks. I can't see that Windows side and I have no way of testing it. So if you come across those things, let me know. You know, that was great. So now I can align, you know, like, hey, I want to try to hit this beat right here so I can scoot it. Oh, I have to unlock the tracks. So I unlock the tracks and now I can scoot them over or move them. And what I want to do is try to hit beats so that they're, it looks like what it sounds like, you know? So I'm looking for ones that are close. Like this one, you know, way over here, I'm not going to do anything about that. That one's too far off. But ones that are close, you know, might as well align them. And then what happens is it'll make the change as it hits that beat. So it sounds like what it looks like. Get the idea?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You know, this is a trick that I use like in Premiere. When you get to things that are like, I'm in these harder beats back here. So like on a harder beat, like on this hummingbird, for example, I could go into this hummingbird layer and I can make him move to the actual beat. So what I can do is I can do a scale trick. So I'm on the beat right here, and then I'm going to use the zoom bar and I'm going to zoom up closer to it. And then what I'm going to do is to go just in front of the beat. You don't have to use this exact trick, but, and then I'm going to put a scale in. So on my scale, I'm just going to keep the same keyframe. So I'm going to add a keyframe by clicking the little diamond right here. And then I'm going to move the playhead over to where the beat is. And then I'm going to bring the scale up. And then I'm going to use the same keyframe that I started with right before that. And I'm just going to copy it and move the playhead over a little ways. And I'm going to paste it. And what I get then is, at this point, he gets bigger, like on a beat. So I'm going to go to the next beat and just a little bit in front of it and keyframe for the scale. I'm not clicking the stopwatch. I'm clicking the diamond to add a keyframe. And then I'm going to go to the marker. I'm going to copy that keyframe that I have selected. I'm going to bring my scale up. And I'm going to go just past it. And I'm going to paste. I'll just do this 3 times to demonstrate it for you. So I go to my next marker. I keyframe for my scale. So the diamond right here. Go to the mark, copy it. So Command C, go to the marker, enlarge it, go a little bit past and paste. And so what I'm doing is making in the 3 keyframes, the first one and the last one are the same size, and the one that's in between is a little bit larger in scale. So what this looks like now to this beat looks like
I
this.
really can't do the marker.
Okay.
Sorry.
Like, really, I don't care anymore. You know, mark it onto a soundtrack. Okay. So, did you even try to do the scale thing just now, Nico? Or are you so consumed with the markers not working that you can't get past it?
I'll just skip that and
Okay.
do the skew. Can you
Okay,
start that?
so here we go. So it looks like this now to the beats. So as it hits the beats, he pulses. So I'm trying to make it look like what it sounds like. You don't have to do that exact trick. I mean, it could be a rotate, or it could be, you know, make him wiggle, or whatever. I mean, it's just a cool way of tying a visual to an audio with a marker. You guys good? Yeah. Any questions about sound? It was really just that simple. You ready for text?
Will this lesson be recorded?
No. We're in class. We're doing it here. Look, you guys, look here, let me justify this. Let me justify this recording thing, okay? All right. I'm from your particular class, I'm getting bombarded with record the lesson, record the lesson. I'm not going to do it. And this is why. It's a synchronous class. We meet in class at 8 in the morning to do this. Now look, if I record this lesson, well, how long was our last lesson, you guys? 2 hours and 45 minutes. Someone's gonna really sit down and watch a 2 hour and 45-minute lesson. I mean, that's why I make those little condensed versions that are in there so that you guys can go back and review it. So if I somehow got 2 hours and 45 minutes posted, which is near impossible to post something, you know, and then it shows the phone number. So ours is birds. So we might do like this. We might do something like this. Birds exhibit. Open now. So what it says, you can't see it, birds exhibit. Open now, San Diego Zoo. That's the action. Come. Okay, so if you're going to try to build product recognition, then, you know, because that's what you're creating is a commercial. Can you guys still hear me?
Yeah, you're kind of
Breaking up.
but
Okay.
I got the gist of it.
Okay, so if you're going to build recognition, you want to use it like 3 times. So on our example, I'll just do it twice with you, okay? So what we would do, now I'm gonna share my screen again, okay?
Okay.
Here we go. So jumping back. Come on, text. We're coming down to our composition, and we're going to click, and you can type. So I can type, and I'm going to put a return, and then I'm going to put zoo. Now over here on the right side, you can, when you have the layer selected, so I put in the San Diego Zoo layer, I'm going to move it to the very top. And on the San Diego Zoo layer, with it selected, I can now choose the font. So I can choose what I want it to look like. You get the idea?
Yeah.
Okay, I can choose the color. If I want to put a stroke around the outside, I can click stroke. I can choose a color for stroke. I'm not going to on this. I can choose the size. So all I'm doing is pulling up and down. Let me scoot that over so you can see it better. This next one over to the right is the leading. It's the space between the lines. So what you want to do is adjust your size first.
Okay.
And then adjust your leading.
Okay.
Let's see what else is handy in there. Okay. See these things that say VA, VA? The one on the right is called a track. And what it does is it puts space between the letters, but it does it all of them. So if you really wanted to tighten a word, all words up, you could in a track. But most of the time you don't really use a track. Instead, what you use is what's called a kern. So a kern is a space between 2 letters. So if I set an insertion point with my text tool, and I put it, say, between the S and the A, then the next VA that's over here on the left, as I increase the kern, it pulls it apart. As I decrease the kern, it pulls the letters closer together. And that's in a single insertion point. Because you'll notice when you go from a cap to a lowercase, sometimes there's an extra space in there and you want it to look better. Or if I wanted San Diego to read as San Diego, I would put an insertion point in there and then I would increase the kern. You get the idea?
Mm-hmm.
So look what happened when I put my track in there. If I scrub across this, I'm going to see it the whole time. So what I want to do is I can treat it just like a graphic and I can shorten it so that San Diego Zoo, and then I can flip it down and I can do my transform tricks to it. So for example, I can make it fade in. So I'm going to pull the playhead over just a little bit and start my keyframing for my opacity. And then I'm going to lower the opacity by pulling the playhead back. What I created was just a real quick fade in or like a dissolve. And then it straight cuts out. You guys good?
Can you replay, please?
Sure. It looks like this.
Okay. Fade. Okay, it's coming in. All right.
So it's just a very short fade in.
Okay.
Okay, now at the end, when you get to the end of this, you want to add in a call to action. So I have this action going all 20 seconds right now. So what I want to do maybe is like add a little bit of space at the end of this so that I'm only seeing the sky and have the call to action come on. And so the way that I do it is I have to manipulate the composition length itself. So I'm going to select the bird's composition over here in my project window.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm going to go to composition, composition settings. And when I go to the settings, when I look at it, it asks me, hey, what is the duration? And I see the duration is set at 20 seconds. So add 2 seconds, I'll just set it to 22 seconds. And when I click OK, it doesn't look like it lengthened it, but if you look at the zoom bar up at the top, the zoom bar is shorter. So if I grab the zoom bar and I pull it out, now I can see that I've got 2 seconds extra. So it runs like this now at the end. Cool. Now you'll notice, can you guys still hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. You'll notice that all my pictures just go to black. Everything's cut off right there. So let's make that sky continue all the way across. So what we're going to do now is we're going to look for the sky layer, and it should be right down there, right above our sound, and we're just going to extend it.
What did you use?
What?
What did you do? You put.
I lengthened the sky layer. I added 2 seconds and I lengthened the sky layer.
How do you do that? Sorry.
How do I do what, Nico?
Lengthen the.
Select the composition, and you go to composition, composition settings, and you tell it to be 22 seconds instead of 20 seconds in duration. And then you take the zoom bar right here and you just extend the zoom bar. Then you take the sky layer and you extend it to the end. So now our comp's 22 seconds long. Now in our sound, you guys, what do we do with our sound? We have a fade out in our sound right there, and it's gonna fade and then show the visual. Well, I want the audio to carry all the way through. So what I'm gonna do is flip down that very bottom sound layer. I'm gonna extend it, and it's as simple as grabbing these 2 keyframes with a marquee. So a marquee is, you just click and drag over it, and then you grab the 2 and just scoot them over. And so now what this whole thing looks like is, and sounds like, is this. Cool. So now I'm going to go down below my sound and I'm going to click in the gray space. So nothing's selected. I'm going to get my text tool. I'm going to put my playhead down here at the end at 20 seconds. And I'm going to click and I'm going to insert my text. So when we write birds exhibit, open now, San Diego. Birds exhibit. Put a return.
Okay, you're fading.
Open now. San Diego. Exhibit.
Question, Professor.
Yes.
Could we? Do we have? Is there an option to like on ourselves to do like animate on our text?
Well, I haven't taught it to you yet, but if you want to do it, you can.
Okay, cool.
I'm setting a color to it. And I bet you guys, when you set yours up, it looks like this. It's flush left. Yes? So if you go right above character and you go to paragraph, you'll see that there's a flush left and then there's a centered. And if you click centered, it looks more correct. Now we have to navigate back down to the character box and we can adjust the size that we want. And we can adjust the leading that we want. And once you do this, you probably don't want this whole thing as a one huge block. You want it to like have emphasis. So the way that you create emphasis is I'm going to select the word birds exhibit. It's the most important thing. And I'm going to scale it up a little bit. Then I'm going to select the words open now. And I'm going to click through it and I'm going to scale it down a little bit. And I'm going to add in at the and then I'm going to click on the click and drag through San Diego Zoo, and I'm going to find the size in there and adjust the leading. And it should look something like that. And now I can set, I don't want it to run all the way across the whole time. So I'm going to set the length of it. So I'm just going to grab the beginning, shorten it up, flip down that text layer, go to my transform tools, and I'm going to set my fade in and fade out for the opacity. So I'm going to go like this, keyframe for my opacity, dip my opacity, and I'm going to use the same keyframe here and fade it out again. So the end of it now looks like this. You guys good?
Yes.
Yeah.
That delay when I ask you is always terrifying because it's like, geez, did I cut out like 10 minutes ago?
It has been kind of in and out a little bit.
I think it's your connection, Tanaya, because we can barely hear you. Questions about text or audio? No? Okay, so the last part that you're going to do with this is you're going to export it to turn it in. And so I created a lesson for you guys. It took forever, but I created an export lesson and posted it. But I'm going to jump you through it again real quick, okay? So from here, get my file, save, and then I'm going to go export. So file, export, and I'm going to choose add to media encoder. And it should launch media encoder and jump over to it. And if it doesn't, what do? You open media encoder itself and you drag the project over and drop it in the window. So over in media encoder, and if I wait a second, it should just pop up right here. There it is. And I click on this middle part right here. Mine says match source, and it creates a dynamic link. So we dynamic linked from After Effects to Media Encoder, and now we're dynamic linking back to a Premiere screen where we can set up our features for compression. And reviewing with you guys, the first one you want is in format H.264, where it says output name. That's where you click it and you direct it. So I would say to, and tell it where I want my desktop so that they're easy for me to find. And then I look down here. And I look and make sure we're in the right size, in the right frame rate. And if I'm not, I can uncheck the box and I can change it. And then I come to the very bottom under bitrate settings, and I change to a VBR2 pass, and I set in a 3 and a 5. And that'll give you a nice small file. And then I click OK. And then I come back to Media Encoder, and I click the screenplay button, and then it'll compile the movie form. Or go across, and if there's anything where it crashes, say like if it went like 3/4 the way it crossed and crashed, it's telling you there's a bad file in there. And I can almost guarantee when you go back and look that you've got a JPEG in there that you didn't convert to a Photoshop file. And that's probably what's going bad. You have to delete it out, re-import it, put it back in, and do all your stuff to it as a Photoshop file. So now, once I have this, I can go into Canvas and I can send it into the assignment. And I can also look and see my finished movie is back here on my desktop, and it's called Wade's Birds 2. Right there. And this is the file that you'll be sending in to me. Cool?
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
Not sure.
Do you still
Not
have
sure too.
Do you still have the project open?
Oh, you mean this one with the audio?
Yeah, with the one you just did right now.
Should be about 22 seconds.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Can you guys hear me and see me?
Yeah, I see you.
Yeah.
It kicked me off again. So, okay, so let's see. Do we have everybody back? Let me see.
I have a question. Are there any alternate keybinds that I could re-keybind the marker, the add marker function to?
I don't know. I mean, the key command for on the PC.
Professor, I think your screen is not working.
Can you guys hear me?
Jumpy.
Yes.
See.
I can hear you now.
Yeah, I don't know how to fix it. Can you? Am I coming through enough that you can follow me or not?
Yes.
Yes, we can follow. I'm gonna take good notes because I can't keep on if I do try to do it at the same time.
Okay.
I just don't know what keybinds are available to rebind it to. That's all.
I don't have an answer for you. I really don't know. All right, I'm going to share my screen.
Okay.